Well, maybe not exactly, but that's clearly what they're trying to do. Atlanta Motor Speedway made a huge announcement today, and we're gonna talk about it on Show and Tell Tuesday. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. Back in the studio, it's been an eventful 3+ weeks. I was at Nashville Super Speedway for the inaugural Cup Series weekend. I stopped by Charlotte to visit the NASCAR Hall of Fame, the RCR Museum, did some videos out there. I just got back from Road America, a brand new 4th of July NASCAR tradition. Had a ton of fun out there. I think I've maybe got a little bit of a tan being out in the sun so much the last few weeks. No, I think I'm still pretty pasty. Anyway, we're back with Out of the Groove, and Atlanta Motor Speedway is back making huge announcements today. We're gonna talk all about that. We're also gonna open some fan mail y'all sent because it's been a few weeks. I'm backlogged. But first, this episode is sponsored by our friends at Swan Security. I've told you all about Swan before, makers of the Swan Enforcer Security System, the complete home security system featuring 4K video recording, motion detections, a police siren, and flashing lights to ward off any possible intruders. Plus, they feature free cloud video storage, and it's easy to check in anytime on your security cameras using the Swan mobile app. You can check in on the live feed from anywhere, anytime. For a more portable, convenient security option, you can also go with the Swan Extreme security camera. It's easy to pair up with the app, its battery lasts up to 6 months, and it comes with a micro SD card for video storage. It's super convenient. I've got one set up right outside my home, and fans of this show can get a special offer. If you head to swan.com and use the promo code GROOVE at checkout, you can get 15% off your order. Head to swan.com and check out their vast array of security products. They support several race teams. They're big supporters of Out of the Groove. That's Swan Security. Now, we have a lot to get to today, namely a huge announcement from Atlanta Motor Speedway. NASCAR is heading to Atlanta this weekend for the second time this year. Both the Cup and Xfinity Series will race in Hampton, Georgia in just a few days. And it was announced today this will be the final weekend of racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway in its current configuration. That's right, another mile and a half, another intermediate track is about to undergo significant reconstructive surgery, if you will. Because they're not just repaving Atlanta Motor Speedway after this weekend, which some may say is long overdue, drivers probably won't say that. They're also reconfiguring turns 1 and 2 and turns 3 and 4 in a major way. Let's get to all of the details from this announcement. Here is the image Atlanta Motor Speedway posted today. New for 22, next generation reprofile. Oh gosh, they're calling it a reprofile. Isn't that what they called the Texas Motor Speedway reconfiguration? Didn't they call that a reprofiling as well? Oh no. Having some scary flashbacks here. Okay, no, it's Atlanta Motor Speedway. Let's see what they're talking about. They've got the current banking configuration there, kind of in black and gray. Underneath that red outline, that is what the new racing before 2022. They expect Atlanta to get 2 dates again next year, and the track will be ready. The new version of the track will be ready the first time NASCAR rolls into town. Many longtime Atlanta Motor Speedway fans are probably a bit shaken by today's news, but you gotta have seen it coming, right? For years now, whenever NASCAR rolls into Atlanta Motor Speedway, the first questions that drivers and officials and teams are often asked is, what do you think about possibly repaving this place? You know, Atlanta Motor Speedway's become known for its old, abrasive, worn-out surface. That's what makes it unique from all the other mile and a halves on the schedule. Most drivers seem to love it. It's challenging, it's slick. You gotta wheel the race car for 400 or 500 miles. And so year after year after year, SMI has put off repaving this racetrack. You know, a couple of years ago, some renderings emerged of a possible total reconfiguration of Atlanta Motor Speedway that included a casino and an amusement park next door. Those plans were always a bit lofty, but it looks like those plans have been shelved for the time being. They're spending a lot of money to repave and reconfigure the track. For next season, I don't see those other major construction elements being introduced anytime too soon, but you never know. So anyway, the idea of repaving and or reconfiguring Atlanta has been discussed quite a bit in recent years, so I'm not shocked to see it announced just in time for the brand new race car, the next gen car next year. The big change is obviously the increased banking and the narrower racing surface. This will make Atlanta Motor Speedway the highest banked intermediate track on the NASCAR schedule. I mean, you look around, you know, Charlotte, Texas, you know, current Atlanta sits at like 24 degrees of banking at their highest points. You know, Bristol Motor Speedway, a short track, I think up by the wall is about 28 degrees. So that's basically what Atlanta will look like next year. Darlington is up around 25 degrees, I think, at its highest point. The only tracks on the NASCAR schedule currently that have more banking than new Atlanta will have are Daytona and Talladega. Daytona 31 degrees, Talladega 33 degrees in the corners. So this will make Atlanta the highest banked intermediate track on the schedule. Today from iRacing showing next-gen cars actually racing on the new Atlanta in the sim. And so you can see, yeah, it looks a little steeper in the corners, the track's a little narrower than Atlanta currently is. But you can also see in this video that all the cars are close together. It kind of looks like a super speedway race, pack racing, drafting, that sort of stuff. And I want to focus on just this one little clip, this little onboard clip right here. Keep in mind, this is just iRacing. This is in no way indicative of what the real world racing product is going to look like. But just from this little clip alone, listen to the sound. That looks and sounds like to me the car is full throttle, fully on the gas, going into the corner, which implies that Atlanta Motor Speedway is hoping for full throttle pack racing style competition at this newly reconfigured track. Speedway Motorsports is trying to turn Atlanta Motor Speedway into a smaller super speedway track. They're trying to create more pack racing with multiple lanes, drafting, pushing, that kind of stuff. That's clearly what us accuracy. And I don't play iRacing. I don't go on iRacing that much. I've heard people talk about the next gen car on there. It feels a little different, but not always. I have no idea how realistic the iRacing next gen car is to the real world next gen car. Plus, keep in mind, when teams get their hands on the next, how these cars are going to handle in dirty air. So there's no way we can confidently predict what the racing in Atlanta is going to look like. But it's clear that SMI is trying to turn this into Daytona, or smaller Daytona Talladega, which I can't entirely blame SMI. SMI doesn't have a super speedway in their lineup. You know, Daytona and Talladega are owned by ISC, NASCAR. There was a quote from their press conference today that raised a ton of eyebrows, and for good reason. Here's what it said. Steve Swift from SMI says that Atlanta says that often what drivers want is not what fans want to see. I mean, you gotta admire the guy's courage to say that out loud in front of reporters, in front of everyone. SMI did not even consult with the drivers. You don't have to take everything the drivers say into account. You don't have to do exactly what Kyle Busch wants you to do or what Martin Truex or Kurt Busch wants you to do, but you should at least hear them out. You should at least listen to them and, listen with an open mind at least. The fact that they didn't talk to any drivers about this change, I won't say it's a red flag, but it's a yellow flag for sure. It's caution is out. Proceed carefully. They didn't explicitly say that, hey, we want this to look like Daytona or Talladega today, but they made noises like, yeah, we expect it to be closer. We expect it to kind of be like super speedway racing. That's clearly what they're going for, and they're not really beating around the bush too heavily. It's pretty easy to see. We've joked before about like, Texas, tear Texas down and turn it into a 3-mile super speedway. Everything's bigger in Texas, just go nuts. We've made these jokes before, right? But Atlanta is actually kind of starting to toe that line. They're starting to work that direction. They're actually making Atlanta into a baby super speedway track. I don't know how to feel about this. I love the slick, abrasive Atlanta surface, but I've been kind of critical of Atlanta races the last few years. I don't think it's really capable of putting on those types of shows consistently anymore. Granted, NASCAR screwed around with the rules package week after week, year after year after year, it feels like. So, we haven't got a lot of consistency at Atlanta, but Atlanta is not the same amazing track it was 15 years ago. It's just not. I think Atlanta needed to get repaved eventually, and I'm honestly kind of glad that SMI is using this opportunity to also reconfigure it and change it up a little bit. I mean, I'd rather see more banking at mile-and-a-halfs than less. I think Texas Motor Speedway proved that less banking sucks at mile-and-a-halfs, but turning it into a small super speedway track, again, I don't know that it's going to drive like Daytona, but that's what they're trying to do. Turning it into a small super speedway, I don't know how to feel about that. It becomes more and more clear every month, it feels like, what NASCAR's goal for the future is. The next gen era, according to NASCAR, is more than just the cars. When it comes to the schedule, NASCAR believes next gen is more road courses. That's why they've added a bunch this year and probably for next year as well. More short tracks, which is why you've seen Auto Club Speedway. They're turning that into a short track. Nashville Fairgrounds is potentially being renovated. And lastly, less intermediates. NASCAR wants less of the traditional mile-and-a-half racetracks where the field gets strung out. That's what NASCAR's trying to slowly phase out. They got rid of Kentucky. They got rid of Chicagoland. They're completely overhauling Auto Club. Now they are changing Atlanta Motor Speedway and making it unique compared to any other mile-and-a-half on the schedule. More banking. It's more closely related now to Daytona than it is to Las Vegas. NASCAR wants the majority of the schedule to be short tracks and road courses where driver skill, beating and banging, rough action becomes more and more prevalent. But then for those handful of intermediate tracks left on the schedule, I think it's clear NASCAR wants them to look more and more like Daytona and Talladega. Daytona and Talladega are uniquely NASCAR. No other racing series, no other major sport on the planet puts on events, spectacles quite like pack racing at 200 miles an hour at Daytona and Talladega. Talladega. Those races are incredibly unique to NASCAR, and there's a reason why they're two of the most popular tracks on the schedule. Their races get highly attended, those races are watched heavily on TV, those races are covered more in the media, those are the marquee NASCAR events that everyone and their mother still tunes into after all these years. So I think NASCAR is looking at more short tracks and road courses, but for the tracks that they still have on the schedule that they can't necessarily change into road courses and short tracks, they want the racing to look more and more like Daytona and Talladega. So as a result, we'll see far fewer traditional intermediate tracks, we'll see a few more, Talladega, Daytona style races, but hopefully we'll see many more road courses and short tracks within the next couple of years. That's what NASCAR is trying to do, and I support it. I think it's a good call. I think 4 pack racing super speedway races is a good number. I don't really want more than that, but if we see a couple of these 1.5 miles sort of turned into small super speedways, I'm not going to complain as long as we continue to get, a few new short tracks, maybe a couple more road courses. I thought Road America was pretty great this weekend. That's a trade-off I'm willing to make. I'm not sure that most fans are necessarily willing to make that trade, but that's what NASCAR believes is going to vault their sport, their series, into the next generation era. More short tracks and road courses, and no intermediates left. They're all being turned into baby Daytonas. That's part of what the 550 package was trying to do. It hasn't worked. It has not succeeded in what NASCAR is trying to do, but it was a small step in that direction. And I think the next gen car will mitigate some of the dirty air effects that the Gen 6 has been plagued by. And so at tracks like Atlanta next year, I think we will see more of that baby Daytona effect. I don't know about tracks like Charlotte or Las Vegas or Texas. I don't know what the next gen car is going to look like there. I don't think we're going to see super speedway racing at those tracks anytime soon. But man, until we see more than 1 or 2 of these cars on track at a time during a test, I don't know what to expect from the next gen car. It's clear what SMI expects though. They expect pack racing at Atlanta next year. We'll see if that does in fact come to fruition. Anyway, y'all, that's my reaction to today's Atlanta news. Let me know what you think of this new reprofiling, this reconfiguration, this new plan down in the comments below. I look forward to reading your responses. Now, it's been a few weeks, but we're back with another edition of Show and Tell Tuesday. To those of you who sent things into my P.O. box, I want to make an announcement real quick. At the end of this month, that you guys have been sending to be featured on this show. I really did not expect that kind of support. It's been a crazy few months, but at the end of July, the P.O. Box will be coming to an end. So if you do want to send anything in to be featured on the show, now is kind of your last call to do it, because if it shows up after July, I don't know what's going to happen with it. I have no idea what the post office does. I do really appreciate those of you who have contributed to the show. It really does mean a lot. I have a lot to get to today. I'm not going to get through all the packages I've gotten in the last 3 weeks. I'm going to save some for next week, but I have a few to go through here today. I just want to say thank you again to everyone for their extreme generosity and helping make this show a bit more interesting. A lot of the stuff you guys have been sending in is super duper wild. A lot of fun stories attached to them, really unique items that I'm sure many NASCAR fans didn't even know existed in some cases, so it's been really fun to explore that here on the show. Let's see what you guys sent in this week. First up, from Andrew in Wisconsin, he sent in a Matt Kenseth rookie scheme. Check that out. Oh, that's funny. He put it in a Joey Logano diecast box. I don't know if you guys can read that, so that's kind of ironic, putting the Matt Kenseth car in Logano's box. But, oh wow, that looks really, really cool. I was just in Wisconsin, saw a lot of Matt Kenseth t-shirts at Road America, which was pretty great. Slinger Nationals are tonight. I'm sad that I'm not there in person, but Matt Kenseth has won that event 8 times, a record. This looks great. A big box from Josh in Pennsylvania. That's PA. Yes, Pennsylvania. I forget all the abbreviations for states. Oh, wow. I get it out of the sleeve here, but we've got ourselves, looks like a Jimmie Johnson car. Jimmie Johnson's 2003 Lowe's Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Check that out. Pretty wild to see the old Winston Cup logo on the side of Jimmie Johnson's car. Only raced, I guess, a couple years in that era of NASCAR, but this looks really, really sharp. I love these old Lowe's cars. I was at the NASCAR Hall of Fame a couple weeks ago, and they had a couple of Jimmie Johnson championship cars out on display, and I really do miss the old blue and silver 48 looks. They tried like the black and yellow Lowe's for Pros late in his career. Around like 2013, 2014, they had like the plain blue and white like pinstripe look. It was cool. The racing stripe was cool and all, but I really like the old, original, mid to late 2000 Jimmie Johnson Lowe's cars. These look great. We have an envelope here from Ross from New York, and he sent in, and oh, this is awesome. Old throwback Xfinity Series car that says JD Gibbs up above the driver's side window. This was driven by Denny Hamlin as a throwback to JD Gibbs, co-owner of Joe Gibbs Racing for many years. He tragically passed away in 2019, I believe, so it was really cool to see, though, Hamlin run this car on track before then. Definitely a lot of meaning behind this one. Thank you for, it's all Nickelodeon stuff. Some of the more random, NASCAR track sponsorship pairings, but I love it. Leads to some gems like this one. And what a random crossover too. Aaron's, like a furniture store, right? And SpongeBob SquarePants. But this looks really, really cool, Sebastian. Thank you so much for sharing. I almost forgot about the old SpongeBob races. The fact that they had paint schemes to match. Classic Aaron's Dream Machine, SpongeBob-ified. That's pretty cool. You guys are amazing. Thank you all for sending stuff and sharing it with us here on Show and Tell Tuesday. That is gonna do it for this episode. We've got a lot more to talk about later this week, so I'll see you then. Be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel so you do not miss any future uploads. As always, a huge thank you to my amazing Patreon